In this lecture, we're going to explore a feature called multi-dimensional arrays. Sounds like a complicated feature, but I promise it's not. A multi-dimensional array is when an array stores another array. Thus, you end up having a nested array structure. Nested arrays are very common in programming. Let's look at an example. In our array, each user has one favorite food. But what if they have multiple? It would make sense to use arrays instead of strings for storing this information. This way, users can have multiple favorite foods. For the first item in the array, let's wrap the string with square brackets. Voila! We have a multi-dimensional array. It's an array from within an array. There's no limit as to how many nested arrays can be created. This feature can be handy for creating a complex structure of data. I'm going to add a second item to the array. In the preview, our array has 4 items. The first item stores another array. The question is, what if we want to access a specific item from a nested array? That's simple. We can use square bracket syntax. Back in the variable dump function, add a pair of square brackets to access the item called John. Let's try accessing the second item in the array by adding an additional pair of square brackets. Inside these brackets, type the number 1. Look at that. The second item from the nested array has been outputted. That's exactly what we were looking for. What do you think would happen if we tried accessing a nested item from an array that doesn't exist? Let's find out. In the variable dump function, change the value from within the first pair of square brackets to Bob. Currently, we don't have an item in our array with a key called Bob. As expected, an error gets produced. Typically, one error would appear. This time, PHP is rendering 2 errors. Let's dissect them. The first error is an undefined error. Whenever you see the word undefined, it means that a variable does not exist. Your script is attempting to access a variable that hasn't been defined or is inaccessible. This error makes complete sense. In the variable dump function, we're attempting to access an item with a key called Bob, which doesn't exist. As for the second error, the description states the following. Trying to access array offset on value of type null. The error states that we're trying to access an array. If we look at our code, we're trying to access the second item from an array called Bob. However, this array doesn't exist. If an array doesn't exist, square bracket syntax does not work. PHP states that we're trying to use an array that doesn't exist. Hopefully, that makes sense. It's a possible error you might encounter whenever working with multi-dimensional arrays. You can't access a nested array if an incorrect item from the list is selected. That wraps up multi-dimensional arrays. Actually, that wraps up our discussion on the various data types. There are other data types worth exploring, but we'll get to those in the future. For now, I think it's time we start shifting our focus to another subject. In the next lecture, let's start talking about typecasting.